Today, we're revealing 12 creepy ghost legends, haunting tales that still linger across Kansas. Number 1. Blue Light Lady. In the summer of 1867, Fort Hays faced one of its darkest chapters when cholera swept through the post. Soldiers and settlers fell ill with frightening speed, and in the middle of this crisis was a young nurse named Elizabeth Polly. Known for her kindness, she cared for the sick tirelessly until she, too, caught the disease. When she died, she was buried on Sentinel Hill, wearing a soft blue dress. Her devotion and sacrifice were remembered, but soon whispers began that she had never truly left. Not long after her burial, guards and soldiers reported strange sights. A glowing woman in blue was seen walking slowly across the hill under the moonlight. Some said she carried a lantern. Others swore she simply moved silently through the prairie grass. The men believed this was Elizabeth, still watching over them. Her legend spread quickly, and she became known as the Blue Light Lady. Over the decades, locals added their own encounters. Ranchers claimed to see a pale glow moving across the ridge. Travelers spoke of a calming presence, and even law officers admitted they had glimpsed her. Unlike many ghost stories, hers was not terrifying, but sorrowful, filled with the devotion of a nurse who refused to abandon her duty. Today, Sentinel Hill remains a place of mystery. On quiet nights, some say the faint blue light still drifts across the hilltop. Whether she is guarding the fort or mourning those she lost, the Blue Light Lady has become one of Kansas's most unforgettable spirits, a story of love and sacrifice that has lasted for more than a century. Number 2. White Woman of White Woman Creek. Out on the lonely plains of western Kansas lies White Woman Creek, a place tied to one of the state's oldest ghost legends. The story tells of a settler woman who became trapped in the violence of the frontier. In one version, she was taken during a raid and killed in the chaos of a rescue. In another, she lost her child and drowned herself in grief. However the tale is told, her restless spirit is said to linger near the creek that now bears her name. Travelers, ranchers, and families camping nearby all reported strange experiences. Many claimed to hear the sound of a woman weeping, carried across the wind at night. Others spoke of a lullaby echoing through the air, as though she was still singing to a child she could not save. Some swore they saw a figure in white running along the creek bed, glowing for a moment before fading into the tall prairie grass. The story became part of Kansas folklore, passed from one generation to the next. Cowboys watering their horses spoke of her cries, and parents warned children not to wander too close after dark. Even after the creek itself dried up, her legend only grew stronger. She came to symbolize the sorrow and loss tied to life on the frontier. Today, the land around White Woman Creek remains desolate, yet the legend endures. On certain moonlit nights, people still claim to hear her cries or glimpse her glowing form in the distance. Whether she was real or born of imagination, the White Woman has become a haunting reminder of the hardships carved into Kansas history. Number 3. Boar at LaHunt Cement Plant. Near the ghost town of LaHunt stand the crumbling remains of an old cement plant. In the early 1900s, this factory was busy with workers, including a man named Boar, who met a terrible fate. According to the story, Bohr fell into a vat of wet concrete during an accident. Before he could be saved, the mixture hardened, and his body was never recovered. From that day forward, people believed his spirit became bound to the plant itself. Soon, strange reports began to surface. Workers heard footsteps echoing through empty halls, or the clank of tools being moved by unseen hands. Some described sudden blasts of cold air in the middle of summer. A few even swore they saw a shadowy figure pacing the catwalks, only to vanish when approached. To those who knew the story, there was no question. It was Bohr, still at work in the place that had taken his life. As the years passed and the plant closed, thrill seekers began to explore the ruins. Teenagers dared each other to enter at night, and many came back with stories of whispers, groans, and eerie feelings of being followed. Paranormal investigators recorded strange noises and equipment failures, adding weight to the idea that the factory was truly haunted. Today, the ruins of LaHunt stand silent, covered by weeds and time. Yet locals say Bohr has never left. His story has become one of Kansas's most chilling ghost legends, a tragic tale of a worker swallowed by his own factory and a spirit that may never rest. Number 4. Katherine Rich. At Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery, one grave carries with it a story of unending sorrow. In the late 1800s, Katherine Rich, the wife of an Army officer, lived on the post with her 2 small children. Tragedy struck when the children went missing, and despite being found safe later, Katherine never learned of their return. Grief consumed her, and not long after she fell ill with pneumonia. She died convinced she had lost them forever, and locals believe her spirit never found peace. Soon after her death, soldiers and visitors began to report unusual sightings. A woman in a shawl and calico dress was seen wandering among the rows of tombstones, holding a lantern and softly calling for her children. Some said she vanished when approached, while others swore they felt her presence close by, a mix of sadness and longing. The soldiers gave her a name, Old Katherine, and her story became part of Fort Leavenworth's lore. Through the years, witnesses continued to describe eerie encounters. People spoke of seeing her ghostly lantern glowing in the distance, bobbing between the graves as if she were still searching. Others said they felt a heavy sadness when walking near her grave, as though Katherine's grief lingered in the air. Even today, on quiet nights, visitors to the cemetery still claim to hear her voice on the wind, calling into the darkness. To many, Old Katherine is not a frightening ghost, but a heartbreaking one, a mother's love so strong that not even death could silence it. Number 5. Theorosa. Just northwest of Wichita near Valley Center, a small bridge has earned a reputation as one of Kansas's most haunted places. The story belongs to Theorosa, a young woman whose tragic tale has been told for generations. In one version, she was a pioneer mother whose baby was stolen during a raid, and she disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Another says she drowned her illegitimate child in the creek and then took her own life in despair. Whatever the truth, her restless ghost is said to remain near the water. Locals began to share stories of strange happenings at the bridge. Drivers crossing after dark reported hearing the sound of a woman's anguished cries echoing through the trees. Others said they felt sudden cold winds sweep past them, or saw a pale figure in white standing silently by the creek. A few swore that when they stopped their cars, they could hear someone whispering from the shadows. Teenagers turned the legend into a test of courage. They would gather at the bridge and call out her name 3 times. Theorosa, Theorosa. Some claimed they heard faint cries answer back. Others said they felt invisible hands brush against them or saw their headlights flicker. Each story added another layer to the legend, making Theorosa one of the most enduring ghost tales in Kansas. Today the bridge remains quiet, but her story is still alive. On moonlit nights, locals say her cries can still be heard carried on the wind. Whether she was a grieving mother or a spirit tied to tragedy, Theorosa continues to haunt the hearts and imaginations of those who dare to visit the old bridge. Number 6. Sally of the Sally House. In the quiet river town of Atchison stands an ordinary-looking home with an extraordinary reputation. Known as the Sally House, it gained fame as one of the most haunted places in America. The story begins in the early 1900s with a little girl named Sally. According to legend, she was brought to the home of Dr. Charles Beals for treatment, but she died suddenly during surgery. Her spirit, tied to the house, is said to have remained restless and seeking comfort. Over time, families who lived there reported unsettling activity. Toys moved on their own, lights flickered, and pets barked at corners where nothing was seen. Some claimed to see the figure of a small girl wandering the halls, her presence marked by sudden chills. To them, it was clear that Sally was still in the house, a ghostly child caught between worlds. The legend gained national attention in the 1990s when a young couple moved in. They experienced terrifying events, objects flying across rooms, scratches appearing on the husband's body, and unexplained fires. Their story made headlines, and paranormal investigators rushed to Atchison. Sally became infamous, turning the home into a destination for those seeking proof of the supernatural. Today, the Sally House is a stop on ghost tours and a focus for investigators. Visitors often report strange feelings or catch glimpses of a little girl peeking from the stairs. Whether she is playful, lonely, or something darker, Sally has secured her place as one of Kansas's most chilling legends, a reminder that even the most ordinary houses can hold extraordinary secrets. Number 7. The Albino Woman. In Topeka's Rochester Cemetery, one of the most chilling ghost stories of Kansas has been whispered for decades. Locals speak of the Albino Woman, a mysterious figure said to roam the graveyard after dark. Some versions of the tale describe her as an outcast who lived in the area during the 1800s and was buried in the cemetery after her death. Her unusual appearance with pale skin and long white hair became central to the legend, and soon stories of her ghostly return began to spread. The earliest accounts told of a peaceful spirit who simply walked among the graves, sometimes seen with the ghost of her white dog. Families visiting at dusk said they spotted a woman in white drifting through the headstones, only for her to vanish when approached. Over time, however, her legend took a darker turn. By the late 20th century, teenagers daring each other to visit the cemetery claimed the albino woman was no longer harmless. Reports grew of her chasing cars down the road, leaving scratches on vehicles, or even lunging at startled visitors. Her glowing eyes and wild white hair made her figure unforgettable for those who swore they saw her. These frightening tales spread quickly, and the Albino Woman became one of Kansas's most feared spirits. Today, Rochester Cemetery still draws thrill-seekers hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Some return with chilling stories, while others insist the legend is nothing more than folklore. Yet the Albino Woman endures in Kansas ghost lore, a reminder that even the quietest cemeteries can hold legends too strange to forget. Number 8. Susan Fox. At Fort Riley, one of Kansas's oldest military posts, the story of Susan Fox has lingered for more than a century. In 1855, Susan, a young bride preparing for her wedding, fell ill with cholera while her fiancé was away. She died before he could return, and according to local accounts, was buried in her wedding dress. Grief and unfinished love are said to have tied her spirit to the fort, where many claim she still lingers. Not long after her burial, soldiers and residents began noticing strange events. Lights flickered without reason, doors slammed shut, and eerie footsteps echoed through the night. Some claimed to see the ghostly figure of a young woman in white wandering near the old bridge and trolley line, her dress glowing faintly in the dark. Many believed it was Susan, still searching for the life she never had. As the years went on, her presence became so unsettling that an exorcism was reportedly attempted, yet the activity did not stop. Witnesses continued to tell of seeing a weeping woman near her old home, begging to be let inside. The sorrow of her story, grounded in the tragic cholera epidemic, made her one of Fort Riley's most famous ghostly figures. Even today, visitors and soldiers alike share tales of strange encounters tied to Susan Fox. Her legend remains a haunting reminder of love lost too soon and the restless spirits that sometimes linger when dreams are cut short. Number 9. Major Louis Armistead. Before he became famous at Gettysburg, Major Louis Armistead served at Fort Riley in the 1850s. During his time there, tragedy struck when his wife, Cornelia, died of cholera in 1855. Heartbroken, Armistead buried her in the post cemetery before leaving Kansas behind. Though he himself died years later during Pickett's charge at Gettysburg, witnesses claim his spirit returned to Fort Riley, forever tied to his wife's grave. For decades, soldiers and visitors have spoken of a ghostly officer in uniform seen kneeling at Cornelia's headstone. He is often described in dark blue attire, sometimes weeping, sometimes silently bowing his head. Those who encounter him say the air grows heavy with grief, as if they are intruding on a moment of eternal mourning. Many believe this is Armistead himself, still grieving for the woman he lost. His ghost has been sighted most often at dusk, when shadows stretch long across the cemetery. Some who pass by report hearing soft sobs, while others claim to feel an overwhelming sadness. Unlike other hauntings at Fort Riley, this one is not frightening, but profoundly moving, a glimpse of a man bound to love and loss. Today, the legend of Major Louis Armistead's ghost remains one of Fort Riley's most enduring tales. Whether or not his spirit truly kneels at his wife's grave, the story serves as a reminder of devotion that stretches beyond life, making his haunting one of the most poignant in Kansas history. Number 10. Bernard Miles. In the quiet town of Ellenwood stands the historic Wolf Hotel, a grand building that has seen over a century of Kansas history. Among its stories is the ghost of Bernard Miles, a man whose tragic death left a mark on the hotel forever. In 1927, during Easter celebrations, Bernard entered the hotel's restaurant and, for reasons still debated, pulled out a pistol. Before anyone could stop him, he ended his own life. The event shocked the town, and though his body was buried, many believe his spirit never left. Soon after, guests and staff began noticing strange occurrences. Unexplained footsteps echoed in empty halls, lights flickered, and voices whispered from the shadows. Some even claimed to see the faint figure of a man in early 20th century clothing, sitting in the dining area or drifting through the hotel's basement tunnels. The eerie activity was often tied to Bernard, whose restless spirit seemed to remain connected to the very place where he took his final breath. Paranormal investigators who visited the Wolf Hotel reported odd sounds and sudden cold spots. Visitors taking tours often spoke of an uneasy feeling, as if someone were watching them closely. The hotel embraced its ghostly reputation, and Bernard's story became one of its most frequently told legends. Today, the Wolf Hotel still stands as both a historic site and a haunted landmark. Many who visit say Bernard Miles lingers in the halls, a reminder of how tragedy can echo across generations. His presence adds a ghostly chapter to the history of Ellenwood. Number 11. Lily, Reno County Courthouse. In Hutchinson, the Reno County Courthouse has long been the center of law and order, but within its walls, employees whisper about a spirit known only as Lily. The legend traces back to the building's early days, when the 5th floor served as the county jail. Some say Lily was a young woman who died tragically there, while others claim she was an inmate who never found peace. Whatever her true origin, her presence is still felt in the courthouse. Workers late at night describe hearing unexplained footsteps and the sound of sobbing echoing down empty hallways. Lights switch off on their own, papers scatter from desks, and heavy doors slam shut without warning. The most chilling stories come from the old jail cells, where people have reported the feeling of unseen eyes watching them. Many believe this is Lily, forever tied to the courthouse where her life ended. Paranormal groups investigating the courthouse often left convinced of Lily's existence. Strange audio recordings captured faint cries, and cameras occasionally malfunctioned on the 5th floor. Some courthouse staff even claimed they saw a shadowy female figure slipping through doorways, vanishing when they followed. Today, the Reno County Courthouse is still a place of work and justice, but its ghostly reputation remains. Those who know the story of Lily tread carefully after dark, wondering if her spirit is still wandering the halls, searching for release from her sorrow. Number 12. Officer's Wife, Fort Scott. At the historic Fort Scott, once a key military post on the Kansas frontier, stories of ghosts have become part of its lore. Among them is the tale of an officer's wife, a young woman whose sorrow left a lingering spirit. According to legend, her husband died in a tragic accident while stationed at the fort, leaving her heartbroken. Overcome with grief, she soon passed away herself. Many believe her spirit returned to the officers' quarters, unwilling to let go of the life she lost. Visitors to Fort Scott have reported seeing a pale woman in period clothing pacing the rooms of the old quarters. Some described her gazing out the windows as if waiting for someone to return. Others heard soft sobs in the night or felt sudden chills in otherwise warm rooms. To many, it seemed clear that the officer's wife was still there, mourning her husband. For decades, staff and tourists alike have shared similar encounters. Her apparition was often seen near the officers' homes or the parade ground, dressed in 19th century attire. While her presence was sorrowful, it was never considered threatening. Instead, she became a symbol of the human cost of frontier life and the sacrifices made by families at the fort. Today, Fort Scott stands as a carefully preserved National Historic Site, but the story of the officer's wife adds a ghostly layer to its history. Her legend continues to remind visitors that behind the military walls were real lives, real love, and real heartbreak that even time could not erase. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.